Hey everyone, I have an exciting show for you today. I have a guest that was recommended from a follower of the One Rental at a Time channel. So shout out Natalie. Thank you for this introduction. Let's welcome Sheila Wong to the show. How you doing, Sheila?
I'm wonderful today. How are you, Michael?
I'm doing very well. So in the introduction from Natalie, Natalie basically said, Michael, you have to get her on. Sheila's got an amazing story. Basically a single mom who really started from nothing and is built up quite the business and just quite the business. So I said, yep, let's get her on. There's lots of single moms out there that need to hear this and other people that are starting from nothing that need to hear this. So I was very happy to get this done.
Well, thank you for the wonderful introduction. And I'm definitely going to have to send Natalie an extra thank you card as well.
Yeah, why don't you just introduce the audience to who you are, where you are in the country, a little bit about your business, and then we'll just start asking you some questions.
Wonderful. So as Mike said, I am Sheila. I'm located in San Diego, but I primarily invest and flip and do my business in Silicon Valley, San Jose. So I work remotely, work in markets of Santa Cruz and Watsonville and San Jose and as far up as San Francisco. Mm. So the short of the long of my wonderful story is that, I'm part of the 50% divorce rate that had happened. And so my marriage dissolved, unfortunately, 4 years ago. And I took, I guess, if you can say, the high road and left with nothing. Simply for the fact that, I'd rather fund my daughter's post-secondary as opposed to my attorney's children's secondary education. So my thought there was I have an education from before. I was an architect before, and so I'm able to still continue finding my way. So fast forward 4 years, I've built an investment company. I've at a stage where I'm able to have that work-life balance, and I'm able to volunteer at my daughter's school and do all the things that, the lovely things that we do for elementary schools. Mm-hmm. And then I'm also able to run a very successful business, investing in properties, working with agents, and being able to, be in a beautiful home with a pool and all the fun stuff now in very short duration. That happened 2 years ago. And so this was 4 years total up to this point. And so I was able to accelerate my business very, very quickly. And I'm at a point where I'm also transitioning into coaching full-time because I've been doing that for a while as well. And so I'm now, this isn't as short as I hope the introduction would be, but I am looking to do coaching as well and help other people accelerate their business and, have that monetary freedom.
Yeah. So let's make sure everybody understands kind of the 4 years ago, right? Starting from nothing, right? The marriage dissolves. You take the high road, as you say, basically saying, let's just sign the paperwork, move on. I don't want anything. At least that's what it sounds like. You have your daughter. Is it shared custody or I don't know what it is?
It is still shared custody.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's good. And then were you in San Diego already, or was there also a move involved 4 years ago?
No. So we were already in San Diego. Okay. I've always been investing remotely.
Okay. Because I was wondering if there was hey, we started up there and then we moved down here for weather, but you were always in San Diego.
Right.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And so then what brought you to, I think that's interesting. So 4 years ago, because you really had a choice, the Bay Area. And again, you said Santa Cruz, Watsonville, some San Francisco, but I didn't hear Mountain View, Palo Alto, Los Gatos, those really crazy expensive areas, kind of the periphery is what I heard. But even that is more expensive than San Diego. What attracted you to the Bay Area?
So that also is, let me turn that into a short story, but
sure.
I'm actually Canadian. And I moved and left and sold everything about a decade ago to travel for a year.
Okay.
And so in that duration, I actually met my husband in Sydney. Let me fast forward. My good friends from high school lived in San Francisco. So I've been to San Francisco numerous times. And I was originally allotted to move out that way. And so I'm very familiar with San Francisco and the Silicon Valley and all of those neighborhoods. And it just so happened my mentor, who at the time, years ago, who I took on to help me with my career as well, my business, also lived up in Gilroy. And
Got it.
so it just made sense. It was a quick 1 hour flight. And generally, at the start of my business, I would take the 1 hour flight, spend the entire day, take the red eye back,
Yeah.
and be done.
Yeah. All right. So so 4 years ago, what happens first? I'm guessing you're probably already, is a licensed architect? Is that the right word? Licensed architect, or what is the,
Yes.
okay. So licensed architect in a business trade, all of that. Do you remember the first house you found that you wanted to flip? You remember that?
In
4 years ago, when you're now divorced, you're on your own, you're starting your business.
So the first house I found to flip was in San Jose.
Okay.
I think the big part of that was my mentor helped me through it, because it was actually a tear down. Was one of the bigger ones. And so it was a tear down, and I built a 2-story home.
Okay. So San Jose, like Evergreen or Willow Glen?
It was actually in Willow Glen.
Willow Glen. Yeah, makes total sense.
Yes.
So you had one of those old city lots, 10,000 square feet or 8,500 or whatever it is, 1 story probably, and then you put up a 2-story, probably went from what, like 1,100 square feet to 4,000, something like that?
Not quite so big. We went up to 2,500, but that was pretty point on. It was about 800, 900 square feet. And we did a 2-story, 2,500.
Okay.
If memory serves me correctly, it's an old memory.
Yeah, you've done so many now, you just move on. So would it be fair to assume that, I guess what we call flips, maybe given that you're a licensed architect, might be more new construction, meaning additions of like you're changing footprints of property, I'm guessing.
So that one, I did not change the footprint, but I also do the gamut. So that's the only one that I've done new construction up. All the other homes I've done thereafter have just been surface rehabs.
Oh, okay. So you're not adding master suites to all the 2-bedroom, 1-bath homes. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So you're in essence, post that tear down, you're like, hey, it's a 1,200 square foot structure. It's going to be a 1,200 square foot structure. I'm just going to change the flow, if you will.
Right. Yes. Now, absolutely, to add on, my architecture degree does certainly help me to look at spaces differently, and to also have the flexibility to add on spaces if necessary. But what I found the niche in is just working within the envelope.
Okay. I'm curious with your background, and you haven't done this yet. It's okay. I don't prep for these calls, so I just ask questions as they come to me. Have you looked at potentially buying lots where an ADU could be a nice addition? Have you looked at that at all?
I have. That is actually what I am looking at, and possibly exploring as well. I have also done a couple multifamily 4-unit complexes as well. So I've sort of done the gamut of where the whole market has been. And I've been fortunate enough to be able to cherry pick my deals. And so I find the good deals, and I'm not limited because of my education to just doing one product.
Oh, that's
so cool. ADUs are really great right now. San Diego has permits already approved. So the city process moves so much quicker when you're doing and adding ADUs.
Yeah.
The only obstruction with ADUs at this point is appraisals. So I know a lot of investors have been having issues with the actual appraiser not knowing how to define what an ADU is and how to give it value. And so that's sort of where a lot of investors have run into issues, is they'll put an ADU that adds a ton of value, and it's even a rental, they have renters in it, but the appraiser is not giving it the value. And we know that, unfortunately, sometimes if the appraiser is not educated and they give you a really bad appraisal, your deal could be tanked.
Yes. Yeah. It's really hard to recycle capital when the appraisal doesn't give you the value for that extra unit, for sure.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So when you look at your business over the last 4 years, I incorrectly assumed that maybe you were changing structures, given you can tackle projects that most people can't. Do you have kind of, hey, this is my sweet spot, this is what I look for when I want to quote unquote cherry pick a deal, to use your word?
Yeah, so my sweet spot is really sort of step up, upper middle class neighborhoods.
Ah, okay.
So I do just because that is not a market that's overly saturated.
True.
I know a lot of people who come out of all the different education programs out there for real estate. They start in the home
Yeah.
starter first time buyer market because it's easy, the risk is lower, et cetera, et cetera. So because I used to work with clients building their $1 million plus
Right.
homes and customizing it, I'm very comfortable in the upper,
Yeah.
the next buy up homes, move up home neighborhood. And
Sure.
so I'm comfortable, working upwards of 1.5, 2 million dollar
Yeah.
plus,
This is going to
and
freak some
knowing
people out
exactly
watching
what.
this. Yeah. You and I talk 1.5 to 2.2 is middle. People across the country are
Right.
freaking out right now. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Yes, it's absurd that that's our middle because, of course, living in California, but properties in Ohio, I mean, and Texas, you could certainly get for a fraction of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But move up is sort of wherever you are in the country or world, for that
Yeah.
matter, is a really great market to get
Sure.
into because the beginners are not necessarily as comfortable. But I always caution people to make sure you have some sort of mentor or someone to answer questions if you come into
Yeah.
700 of the questions that are possible in construction.
Yeah. There is no question that the YouTube University, the educator mentor routes are sticking people increasingly in the first time buyer camp, right? That's where a lot of people. So just going up, I mean, this is going to sound bad for people across the country, but you're only going up about 20%, right? To
Right,
get to your next niche. And that just, the pond is the same size. There's just less people competing in it, right?
right.
It makes a lot of sense. So with your degree, where do you find, because you're basically, your end buyer is owner occupant. You're selling to an end buyer, not a landlord.
Right.
Okay. So I guess you're changing the entire inside, putting a special focus on master bath and kitchen, I'm guessing. I'm just trying to figure it out.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. So generally, a lot of my buyers are with children
Ah,
that are off to going to university, or not needing. Maybe they need a home office, things like that,
ah,
or maybe they're in the what I call the sandwich era, which I'm in. Which you also have to deal with elderly parents because I
yes.
started my family quite a bit later in life. And so I focus on those kind of communities where maybe they'll have a smaller master on the main
Mm,
floor
sure.
for to accommodate the elderly, and then nicer kitchens for guests,
Sure.
um, for the entertainers that
Right.
love to have people over. So exactly as you mentioned, the kitchen is a big focus. The bathroom and the master is always a big focus, and sort of bits and pieces depending on the neighborhood thereafter.
Yeah. So I'm just going to ask this because I've never asked any guest ever before. What is the one like design element that you want to put in a $1.5 million house that nobody else does?
Um, Again, that really depends on the neighborhood. But a really good tip for all your listeners is to do a little section of wine racks. Everybody likes to drink wine, and they have a ton of really inexpensive, just hang on the wall
Oh, nice.
wine brackets. And so you can build a little enclosure. And I did actually put a wine room in the Willow Glen home that was enclosed, and it wasn't temperature gauged, but you can even put it in a cabinet or beside your cabinets, and you'd build a little custom wine space for people to display their fancy wines and their nice wines, or whatever they're drinking at the time. So that's always a really fun and really inexpensive extra sizzle feature, if you will.
Nice. So I want to go back to the beginning because I think maybe I did a bad job of kind of helping the listeners appreciate where you started from 4 years ago. Um, I mean, you're jumping. So you already have experience in real estate. You're a licensed architect. You're now a single mom. You're living in San Diego, investing in San Jose, Willow Glen. Even if you want to go past that first one, you want to go to the next couple. Um, were you nervous? How were you juggling it? Because a lot of people, frankly, a lot of people look at a 7-figure flip and run away, right? They're like, what the heck are you doing? Um, so let's paint the vision of, it wasn't always easy for Sheila to go after this, and you had some struggles in the beginning.
So there's always definitely a ton of struggles in real estate, because there's just so many different possibilities, if you will, on how things, the outcome of what things are going to be. So obviously the biggest struggle at the beginning is trying to manage anything remotely, especially a flip. And so managing your construction staff, I had to hire on some project coordinators. And I think the biggest hesitation, what I see with a lot of my own students, is just jumping in, whether it's 7 figures, 4 figures, 5 figures, any of the thing. And I think the hesitation is just not knowing what's going to happen, because there's a lot of variables. And I think there's been too many education programs out there that you can do this with no cash in your pocket and no experience and make, copious amounts of money. And so it played in my favor that I had some experience. And so I knew the construction. And so that was always helpful. And the biggest part for me, and let me tell you, my mentor probably says otherwise, but having someone to catch all my questions, because I am the question person. And I want to know, I always like to paint the big picture before I make a decision. I like to know every possible choice I can make. And I don't know if that comes from being a woman. We need to know all the colors before we choose a color. But those are, my biggest hurdles was not knowing what to do, my contractor didn't show up, and I can't drive down the street today just to see him. And so that was managing people and making sure and picking the right crew and picking the right people was very difficult at first. I know many times, even just investing, it's a big number, and having not a lot in my own bank account as a safety was also really scary. And I think the biggest thing here that helped me was having a mentor who I know had a ton of experience, who had done everything, who I really very much trusted, had that great rapport with. And so any question I had, he was able to help me through that. And I think definitely would have had more sleepless nights than I already did without having somebody to help me and answer my questions.
Very cool.
And just to, even teach me hard money lending and which lender he's had experience with, and giving me the cheat sheet of how to do it all. And to really, you're just reinventing the wheel, because there is so much to learn, and it's drinking from a fire hose with all the information. So a lot of the struggle was being concerned about losing money, obviously. I think is the number one for any new investor. Finding good people, good contractors, good project managers, and just, building that team and doing all the things. And for myself, it was also not only trying to run a business from ground, but also working with a 3-year-old and trying to, parent her and be the best parent I could. And, maybe sometimes get some sleep. So.
Very cool. So you brought it up earlier. We'll just put it out here. I'm guessing you did finance, at least in the beginning, if not still, via hard money, kind of 90% of purchase, 100% of remodel, something like that?
Yeah, sometimes that was the case. And especially right off the hop, it was definitely the case. Just because I didn't have, very much in the bank. I just left with none of that. So you can absolutely do a lot of it financed. Again, my biggest thing that I always tell my students is, make sure you have integrity. You make sure that if you get a loan, you want to keep your credit score, you want to pay everybody back. And that's the cost of doing business.
For sure. So how long did that first project take? I'm guessing because it was a brand new construction, it might have been 9 months, maybe a year.
Right on the nose. So it took about 9 to 10 months. We were probably one of the first homes in Willow Glen that wasn't owner occupied. And
Ah,
so lots of people were excited about our new construction home. And we actually sold that one before we even finished construction, because we
wow.
just had so many people coming by to take a look. But that also had a ton of problems. I had a contractor who didn't manage the money financial side of it
Hmm.
as good as he could have. So we ran into questions of, do I keep paying this guy to finish this project? Do I find someone else? And, having that age-old question of, do I move forward with a
Yeah.
guy who's already broken my trust, or do I find someone new and spend more money? So construction was delayed
Hmm.
there, so that was not without a ton of,
Yeah. And this
uh,
was 2016, if my math serves me correctly. Right?
yes, right.
Yeah. So it was a decent time to be in the market, certainly on the uptick. I mean, and it was certainly great time for the Bay Area, right? Frankly, the longer the project took, the more money you made, right? Because prices were going up quickly or nicely.
Right.
Yeah. I'm curious what you think now, right? Because I have to imagine, I don't know, maybe not, but I'm guessing the market's a little squishy today, but maybe not.
In San Diego, it is actually not squishy at all.
Oh, okay.
So the market that I am in actually have been having multiple bids,
San
and
Diego.
they're actually right.
Okay.
San Diego, San Jose as well has been experiencing
Okay.
the same thing, where because there's not very much on the market right now,
Inventory.
so the
Okay.
inventory is really low, and people are still ready to buy.
Hmm.
Especially in San Jose, there's a lot of tech money. There's a
Yep.
lot of first-time buyers that are anxious to get in, and they're maybe not going into the first-time buyers market because they have had the access to it. Facebook has given them stocks or
Yeah.
shares, and
Liquidity
so they're
events.
able to. Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly. So because the inventory is really low right now, I'm expecting to see an uptick
Really?
in the
Okay.
market when we open a little bit. And then if all goes according to my black ball, my
Yeah,
black crystal ball,
exactly.
we're going to drop and level off a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, but being on the coast, I think we sometimes have a little bit of a bubble that we can sit in because beautiful weather,
Yeah.
ocean, and beaches. So
Yeah. For me, again, I've lived in the Bay Area my whole life. I'm in Mountain View now. I've lived in Sunnyvale, Santa Clara, Cupertino, and Mountain View, right? So like within 20 miles of each other are the four places I've lived. What makes me nervous about the Bay Area today is jumbo loans, right? Jumbo loans are not quite as easily accessible as they were even 6 months ago. So that's kind of a concern. And then I'm wondering if tech jobs are going to get a little. I'm not so nervous about tech jobs that if you already have one. What makes me nervous, Sheila, is we're not going to invite as many college graduates to the Bay Area because of all this now work where you live. So instead of coming from, Wharton or Texas Tech or wherever it was at 23, now you're gonna be like, shoot, I'm gonna live in Texas, and yeah, I'll make 10 grand less, but cost of living is 50% less. So I'm a little nervous about the Bay Area because I think we're gonna turn off new residents. I think I don't know if you
well,
see that.
and that's why I think the inventory, when we come out of this, fully come out of this
Hmm.
COVID-19 thing, there'll be far more inventory. So I do think there will be a spike, but that's why in the latter end of things, I do think things are going to level off, and they
Mm,
may drop a little bit just because of that, because tech
gotcha.
will actually be able to hire talent from all across the world. And
Yeah,
so they don't necessarily have to be located in the Bay Area. I've been hearing San Francisco has been having more issues than San Jose,
for sure.
and further down, right by where you are, Mountain View and Sunnyvale. So that may be a different climate coming into the fall and the winter for sure.
Hmm.
Um, but again, as you know, I think it's hard to beat living in California.
Yeah,
So whether they make less or more,
yeah,
I think a lot of people are still going to want to come and live in California. That's, um, from what I've experienced from other friends and so forth who've come from other
yeah.
states, there's still a ton of people moving here. And if they can afford to live here, where if they're hired by the tech companies, why not? Why wouldn't you want to live in sunny California,
Yeah.
and be here at least for an interim? And what I'm also seeing with a lot of my buyers is that they're actually putting down more than 20%.
Mm.
And so while jumbo loans are harder to get, they now have more leverage. And obviously, if they are able to put more, and if you're able to leverage more than 20%, the banks are much more forgiving in that sense. And I think with investors or buyers being a little more savvy to that, they are saving a little bit more, and they are putting more to be able to qualify.
Yeah, I think that's all legit. I'm a little nervous about the Bay Area. I've been here almost 50 years. Not so nervous this year because, again, I think what I feel the Bay Area is going to go through is a slow leak, right? The balloon's just going to slowly leak. And again, it's going to be mostly about not bringing new people in, because that's what's made the Silicon Valley is you just bring in all these very, very smart people that bust their butt from like 23 to 35. They make whatever they make. And then some of them leave, some of them stay, but it always have that every year, right? There's another flood of, I don't know, pick a number, 10,000, 15,000. They just keep coming and coming and coming. I think that's going to get cut in half or more. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm curious, how many projects do you have going on right now?
So actually, currently I have no projects going on.
There you go.
Yes. So I've been able to take a break, if you will, and focus primarily on distance learning with my daughter, which is actually harder than flipping homes.
I bet.
So kudos to all the parents doing distance learning. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And so currently I don't have any, but on an average basis, I do anywhere from 3 to 4 to 5 homes a year.
Okay. Yeah. And at those price points, I'm just doing the math in my head with hard money lending, even with preferred rates, which I'm sure you get. That's still a healthy monthly nut.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. So I'm curious, when you look out, I don't know, 2022, 2023, you still going to do the live in San Diego, invest in the Silicon Valley, or are you looking at your crystal ball or black ball going, you know what, I've got no inventory up right now. Let me go look at the gas lamp or look at another San Diego area. Have you thought about that?
Definitely. I have thought about that primarily, not necessarily to change markets, but just for ease of managing.
Sure.
So in this whole process, I have found out I do need to work on my managerial skills and finding contractors. And so I do have people up in that way, in that direction. So I'm hoping I can still do the 3 or 4 up that way per year, have a solid team, and then build something down in San Diego as well. And just be able to also show my daughter, she's always been asking to come to work with me. And unfortunately, every time I go up to work, she's working. At school. She's at school. That's her work. So
that's cute.
It'd be nice to be able to, show her what I do and bring her to work, and then see if this is something that she would eventually be interested in. But I am having my hand in a couple of cookie jars. So eventually I will bring my business down to San Diego.
For sure.
And then I do want to start the coaching side and helping others and giving back.
Well, let's talk about that, because that's what Natalie reached out about. I'm not sure if she's an official coach or coach, and I don't know, whatever the other side of a coach is, but she was raving about you. So why don't you talk about your passion for coaching and helping, and where you're at with that, and how can people follow you or get a hold of you, all of that good stuff.
So the coaching side, I have actually been mentoring for at least 4 years now. And I have stumbled on that. I really love it. It's a passion of mine to be able to help other people create freedom for themselves, and I think it was born from going to the PTA meetings at school and talking to a lot of other parents and saying, that's so wonderful that you can come to all these meetings. Like, how do you manage all the things and do all the things and have a business and so forth. So just even talking to, very small subset of my friends in our local school really inspired me to help other families be able to create this freedom of, whether it's choosing children or doing, hiking Mount Everest or whatever you're at in that point of your life, just having that really beautiful life balance that you want to achieve and want to attain, really inspired me to start the coaching part. And Natalie is one of my students right now.
Student, that's the word I was looking for.
Yes. And she has done phenomenal. So she works part-time in real estate. Within 3 months of me teaching her, she was able to get her first flip. And in 6
Nice.
months, she sold it. And so she's made a healthy profit on that. And it's very, very achievable. And it brings me great joy that I've been able to sustain myself and build for myself and my daughter. And now I think I'm in the back end of where I'm able to give back to other people, and I want to help other people and have that value of, why are we here? What are we doing this, all of this for?
Well, I applaud you for that, because I've been asked to do mentoring, if you want to call it that, or coaching, and my answer to date has been no. Right? I don't want to do one-on-one coaching. I value my time so much. I did put something out finally because people kept asking, "What are you doing? How'd you do one rental at a time?" So I created an online course on Teachable. It took me a couple of months, but it's there now. So that's my answer. Doing one-on-one coaching that's a commitment, and that's nice. It has to warm your heart when you hear from Natalie or any other student that they started and they got the check or they got to the finish line. I mean, that just has to just feel amazing.
Right. And it does. And I think that is, being in my 40s, you've worked really hard at your career, you've done the things, and I have a family. It's really wonderful to have a purpose now and to be able to give back and see other people. And it's, for me, when I started in architecture, it was so rewarding to see pen to paper or pencil to paper and then see a building constructed. That was really rewarding in itself because you're able to see something tangible. And now in the back end, it's frankly amazing. And in my really passion to help others, say like I am, I'm not needing to struggle to pay my electricity bill or my water bill or just live and things like that. Is amazing. And since moving from Canada to America, I do see the disparagement in the classes so much more. And I like to classify. I did multifamilies, a couple of multifamily units with 3 or 4 and sometimes 5 units. And I like putting in Section 8 tenants because it makes me feel like Robin Hood. I'm able to bring this building, and renovate it and put in nice finishings and then offer it to Section 8 tenants who I know are great people. I still obviously do a screening, and then able to give them a little bit of dignity and reward, if you will, for being in a brand new place that they may never experience. And so for me, that's what life should be about, is helping others and giving back when you've gotten to that place. And so if I can, even help half a dozen people or a dozen people to get to that place where they're able to, pass it forward, if you will, to somebody else in whatever capacity, then, I've felt I've had a great purpose here.
That's
in the
awesome.
short time that we have. So
it's seeing the kind of like the pond, right? The ripples in the pond. If you're helping someone, they're helping someone, pushing that forward. That's got to be really cool. So, how could somebody reach out, follow you, get a feel for what your coaching program is? Is it an Instagram page, website, Facebook? What is it?
So currently I'm on Instagram.
Okay.
I will have to admit my social media skills and postings are really not up to par as of yet. I've been fortunate enough to have word of mouth and have students sign on that way with me.
Very cool.
So I do need to work on Instagram, but my Instagram page is my name, Sheila N. Wong, SheilaNWong.
Okay.
And so I do
put that in the description.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Of course.
And then, of course, via email as well, which I will also give to you at the end. People can reach me. And I am also free. I have always opened my door to, investors who have questions. Send me the questions, and as I can get to them, I definitely will get to them and answer them. The generic questions, if you have some, or how to invest and where, and, things like that. I'm always happy to help. And I think in San Jose, some of the other investors would definitely attest to
Yeah.
me being and giving the time, which again, I don't mind. Who needs sleep, right?
I do. Yeah, I could go one day with very little, but not 2 days. I get really cranky. That's funny. So just one question, because again, you have a 7-year-old daughter. What is it something you're hoping to show her? I know you want to bring her in the business and see if it sticks, but I mean, are you hoping to show her that, moms can do it too? Or have you thought about that, or you're just doing it?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think definitely I want to show her that women and girls can do anything that boys can do. I don't want to have her feel as though she is limited for any reason. I mean, other than me being 5 feet tall and I can't reach stuff on the top shelf. I don't want her to think that she is not able to do anything else in life that she wants to do and put her mind to doing.
Yeah.
And I think that is a big goal of mine as well, to empower women and to empower anybody really to go after what they want, that they can do it, and that we may have physical limitations, but everybody has the same brain. Everybody is capable of
24 hours a day.
Right. Absolutely. We all have the same parameters, and the only difference in achieving is access to some sort of education or mentor or help to help you get to the next level. And so that is really my biggest focal point, especially working in real estate and investing in architecture. It's very male dominated. And that's always a hurdle that I also overcome. Going back to your question prior, is I've all the jobs that I've been on, they never address me. My contractor never, when I'm interviewing new contractors. So I always strategically hire a male project coordinator who, unfortunately, they don't know as much construction as I do, but they're always the one being addressed. And so that disheartens me, because just looking at me, I'm a very slight, 5 feet tall, I'm a very slight woman. So they always overlook me. And it's always a thing that I've heard from other women in these fields, is that, and I also have I guess the blessed Asian gene that I look really young. I'm really about 89, but
not going there.
Smart. But yes, that really is the big goal here, is to show my daughter that whatever she wants to do, she can absolutely do it regardless. Yes. Yeah. And really anybody.
Yeah. And again, what I would tell you folks, if really anyone, but especially if you're a single mom, if you're going out there, really want to make it a go. I mean, Sheila took on the Bay Area, 7-figure projects. Sure, she has an architecture background, so maybe she had a slight construction heads up or more than you, but she jumped in. She made it happen. She's been doing this for 4 years in a market that's highly competitive. So I want to congratulate you for doing what you're doing. Thank you for leading by example, and most importantly, for willing to help people. Giving back, reaching a hand down and helping up folks is amazing. So I wish you nothing but success with your mentoring and coaching. You wanted to leave your email. You want to say your email address? And again, I'll put that in the description as well.
Sure. It's Sheila, again, SHEILA at homesca.com. It's a mouthful, but essentially M&S is Mia, who is my daughter, and Sheila.
I figured it was a story like that. I was like, it's got to be something like that. So mnshomesca.com.
Right.
Awesome. Well, Sheila, this has been so much fun for me. Thank you for doing this. Congratulations on all your success.
Thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm honored. And likewise, I wish you the best with your book and all the endeavors.
Thank you very much. Yep.